Two detectives are heading somewhere in their car when they receive a call from the office. The officer tells them to visit an address as the residents have complained about some strange smell there. They move towards the given address. When they reach there, a young girl comes limping suddenly from that street. As she falls on the road, they rush to her. She is bleeding as there is a thin metal wire rolled tightly around her hands, feet, and even her neck. On their inquiry, she tells them that she is Lori and Jeff has done all this to her. One of them calls for an ambulance. When another officer arrives there, they go to the apartments where Lori has told them about Jeff. A woman receives them and tells them to find out about that strange smell. They ask about Jeff and go to his apartment in the alley. The woman follows them. They order her to go to her apartment. In Jeff's apartment, they find that smell, and a naked upper body of a girl is found on the bedside table with no head and no arms in it. They find different body parts of the women in the refrigerator. Meanwhile, Jeff comes over, calling Lori. On seeing the police, he rushes out. They also run behind him and almost get him when he makes the lady his hostage to get escaped. They warn him to drop the razor, which he points at her neck, but he does not care for anything. 6 months earlier, Jeff moved to his present residence. He went to a bar and ordered a drink. He offered a group of girls there to drink, but they leave. Another girl looking from a distance came to him and asked him for some company for a night. She introduced her as Barbara. He paid for her drink too. She got from it that he was a money man. She was accompanied to his apartment but stopped abruptly to discuss her fee to stay with him for a night. He refused her and went into the apartment uttering that he would never pay for intimacy. After eating a slice of pizza, he opened up his chatting room on his computer and showed himself up for Mrs. Karin with a slave named Julie. He texted two sisters, Wilma and Tammy. The scene shifts back to present. Detective Sam is investigating Jeff in his office for his crimes. Jeff asks Sam to bring some coffee. When he finishes his coffee, he tells Sam that he had to punish Julie and Mrs. Karin. At Jeff's place, a lady detective and her companion find barrels filled with various body parts of the girl. She is almost vomits because of that unbearable smell. In the refrigerator, they find 3 heads of Jeff's victim girls preserved. There is the smell of decaying human flesh all around. In the bathroom, the bathtub, and the walls are all stained with blood. Sam receives a call from the other detectives, and they tell him what they found. Sam asks him about his first murder. He tells him that he was shaving his beard when he heard someone knocking at the door. It was his internet delivery. He received his parcel and opened it. There was a long metal wire in it with a pair of gloves and a white-colored bottle. The door was being knocked again, and there was Barbara. She said that she had come to apologize for her behavior last night. He let her in. Throwing him on his back on the couch, she began to seduce him by getting undressed. Jeff hit her head with a baseball bat lying there, and she fell. Then he dragged her into his bathtub and rolled the wire around her neck. She could hardly breathe. The sprinkles of blood were coming out of her neck. He went out to the lady next door to take a big knife. He told her that he wanted to cut the rooster to prepare a meal for his girlfriend. She gave him the knife and asked him to keep it. When he returned to Barbara, she passed away in front of him. He expressed his anger as if he wanted to harm her by himself. He cut her head and took it to the refrigerator to keep it preserved. As he was doing so, he found an old man looking at him through the window, but he could not see him as he was not wearing his glasses. Then he cut her feet. Jeff tells Sam that he has learned so much from his first case, like how to avoid creating a mess. Now the matter of disposing of Barbara's clothes aroused, for which he used the basement laundry. He met Lori there for the first time. He told Lori that he had come to laundry her aunt's clothes, who lived on the 8th floor. Lori told him about herself, that she was working as a waitress and studying. He came back making a good acquaintance with Lori. After that, he dumped Barbara's clothes in the bin, and on his way home, he brought a barrel. He threw her body parts in it and placed them in the courtyard. He tells Sam that it had started to give an unbearable smell. The neighbors complained frequently, but nobody did anything about it. He searched for some chemicals and acids on the internet which can dissolve human flesh. He stole the acid. At night, he took an empty pot and went out where he kept the barrels. Suddenly, he found someone at the window on the 1st floor. He hid behind the barrel. When the danger of being caught was over, he removed the lid of the barrel and began to vomit as the stink was unbearable. He took Barbara's feet in the pot. Placing it on the stove, he poured some acid on it. The acid dissolved after some time, and the plan was successful. It was the right time for his next plans. 2 young girls came to meet Jeff. They were 2 sisters, Wilma and Tammy, whom he chatted with as Karin and Julie. They had come to fulfill their sexual desires. Before getting into his apartment, Tammy stopped and told Wilma that she was feeling strange over there. She asked her to go in, and that she would wait for her in her car. Wilma entered Jeff's apartment but found nobody there. Jeff came from behind and hit her head the same way he did Barbara. He clogged her neck and hands and took her into the bathtub. Then he cut her throat with the razor. Looking at her with blood pouring out of her neck, he was at the peak of sexual pleasure. After waiting for some time, Tammy came to look for her sister. When she found her deceased, she ran to escape but could not. Jeff eliminated her too by dipping her head into the bucket filled with blood. Then he placed their heads in the refrigerator along with Barbara's. It seems to be sick to be there with a criminal like Jeff. Another officer comes in to replace Sam. As Sam leaves, Jeff asks him about his family. He tries to arouse his anger by talking filth about his wife and daughter. He tells him that there is a possibility that his daughter is fulfilling her sensuous desires with his wife, or his daughter is not his daughter biologically, etc., and he succeeds in doing so as Sam begins to beat him. Hearing their voices, Sam comes with another officer to take him out. Then Sam comes in and gives him a huge blow on his face for talking rubbish. Then he gives him another blow for being such a criminal. Sam leaves and a lady detective comes to take charge. Jeff fantasizes about her in seductive attire. Sitting in front of him, she asks for the rest of the story. Jeff warns her that she could not bear that. He asks her about his boyfriend, to which she replies that she has a girlfriend. He starts to talk about her being lesbian. Sam goes to the hospital to see Lori. He asks her questions about several things. Upon having her consent, he asks her to tell him about her acquaintance with Jeff. She tells him that they met at the laundry, and that she used to call him Laundry Man. Jeff tells the detective that he needed more chemicals to dump the bodies of Wilma and Tammy. He went to steal it and he got caught. In his defense, he exposed a certain quantity of the chemical to the men over there, and as a result, they started bleeding from their mouths. They passed away there. He took the chemical and rushed to his home. Jeff found the keys to their car and their clothes. He drove to the laundry to wash their clothes, where he met Lori again. He asked her to give her a ride to her home. She replied that it would be inappropriate for his girlfriend. He refused to have a girlfriend, telling her that it was his neighbor's wife's stuff. He brought them to wash them as she was a bit unwell. Lori leaves. He chased her once again while she was running on the road. Lori tells Sam that they happened to meet again after some time in the laundry basement. On her inquiry about being absent for a long time, he lied to her, telling her that he was busy with job interviews and chemistry exams. She asked him to come to her residence to spend some time. He agreed and they went to her house. They were getting intimate but ended up him being angry. He threw her off and went out, claiming that he would never meet her again. Lori found his wallet lying on the floor. She picked it up and rushed after him, but he had gone away by then. Lori took his wallet to his apartment, where she found the heads of different girls on his bed in a dim light. She runs out terrified. Before she could escape, he held her from behind and tied her to a chair. He tied both her hands together with the same wire that he had used before. Similar was the case with her neck and feet. She was begging for mercy. He introduced all three heads to Lori, to which she was weeping helplessly. The next morning, he placed the heads back in the refrigerator and dragged Lori to the bathtub. When she heard the sound of the door slamming outside, she got an idea that he must have gone. Putting up all her efforts, she succeeded in getting out of the tub. She crawled to get herself out of his apartment. When she saw him coming into the car, she got herself hid in the bin. On his going in, she came out of the bin and rushed to the road, where she met the detective. When she has finished telling everything, Sam gives his card to Lori and tells her to contact him whenever she needs. When he goes up to the door, Lori calls him from behind and asks him to lock Jeff up, as the lady officer is investigating. Jeff's lawyer comes in and asks her to leave, as he has to speak to Jeff in private. Jeff tells him about the inappropriate behavior of the investigating officers. She exits. After 12 months, Jeff's lawyer comes out of the court, where media representatives surround him to ask about the case. He tells them that Jeff is finally released, as all accusations against him are false, and he would be given 36,000 euros as compensation for the inappropriate behavior of the police. They have tortured him in their custody, which is against the law of the country. Jeff returns to his home, sitting in front of the computer using his fake profile as Mrs. Karin and Julie.